Howdy folks, I'm Keith Bowen and this is Hard Rock University Intercontinental Edition. Anyhow, YouTube's everywhere of course, and somebody in Tanzania has a small underground gold mine with relatively low ore grades and a relatively low throughput mill, and contacted me, wanted to ask me some questions and get my ideas on certain things. And one of the things that I asked him first is, what is the particle size of the gold in your ore? And unfortunately, he didn't have an answer for me. So I suggested that he review my lesson 24, how to hand pan microfine gold improved method. And he got back with me and said, well, unfortunately, he doesn't have an American-style gold pan. So I asked him where he could get one. The answer basically is, not in Tanzania. They don't have them over there. So this started me on a quest to try and figure out some reasonably normal object that could be used to basically duplicate the method and recover the original gold from the ore so that you can observe it, see what the particle sizes and shapes are, because that's really critical. I'll get into that a little more later in the video. Now, first thing that occurred to me was a pie plate, because it's very similar to a gold pan. So I went in the kitchen and I got a pie plate. Now, we had a glass pie plate. I went outside and I tried it, and the glass is too smooth. Everything just slides right down. So I painted it. And this is the same paint I use on my table, and it gives it a light surface texture. Now, I do the cooking in the house generally, so my wife isn't going to get too mad about this. And besides, I can always clean it off if I have to. But we don't do much in the way of pie baking anyway. Now, I took this back out there and tried it again, and I found out, unfortunately, that this corner here, it's heavily radius. That's probably about a 1/4 inch radius or something like that. That's too much. Just doesn't work. So I thought, how about those aluminum pie plates? You know, the ones when I was a kid? And so I looked around, and they don't sell them at Walmart anymore. Eventually I found one, and here's an aluminum pie plate. It's got a nice sharp corner here, and then I found out you can't see gold against aluminum very well, so I painted it also. Then when I went to try it, I found out there's a problem. By the time you get it tipped enough to where things start to slide down, all the water's run out here. You don't have any water up there. Doesn't work. Okay. Let's come up with something with a little bit deeper. Loaf pan. Unfortunately, and you can see a little bit back here, it doesn't have a flat bottom. It also has a big radius. No joy. This is what I use. It's got a flat bottom. It's got a sharp radius. It's got a circular thing. What? I mean, come on. How hard is that? So I thought, ha-ha, idea. A bucket. Just a little bucket. I did some testing with some buckets I already had to get an idea of how steep I had to tip it, and this turns out whatever the diameter is here, you need to lip about half of that height in order so that when you tip it, the water is still up here before it starts running over here when things start to slide down here. So, cut it off. I painted it just so it's a little easier to see this light blue. Again, it's kind of hard to see the gold. And I put a little notch in it just to mark it so there's some way to tell what's what. And I took this out and I tried it, and it seems to work pretty well. Not as good as a pan, but it does reveal the gold in its original form down to some pretty small stuff. I was seeing stuff down to 1 or 2 thousandths, so, and in that ore, that's what I've got. So it I'm pretty convinced that this was doing a reasonable job. Let me show you what that looked like. Now, to get good liquefaction, you almost have to run a circular motion to get it liquefied. Then start going side to side. And you really got to tip it. But it does seem to get pretty good stratification, which is of course the main thing. Let's go ahead and bring that back into the front there. And that's the gold right there. This little area right there is gold particles. And you can now visualize them, determine their size, their shape, or whatever. Those are pretty small. That's what I expect from this particular material. But that's what I would expect from his too. So the technique does work. It's not as easy as with a regular gold pan. And here's the same material in an American gold pan. And there's the gold. I would say it's definitely easier with this. Maybe there's not quite as much rebound off the wall. So it does work. You can even pan down with it. Probably be better off using local materials, local techniques, whatever they do. They should be able to get down to a good concentrate using local techniques and devices. Then once you get it down to a real good concentrate, then put it in this. Test it first, see what happens, try panning down with this, but it does work. So Nikunj, and I hope that's how you properly pronounce your name, this will actually work. Find a small flat bottom bucket with a radius corner. You can, if it's already a dark color, leave it that. If it's real smooth, you may want to roughen that up just a little bit, like put some river sand in it, some fine river silty sand. Just scrub it a little bit, 3M, whatever. Just something, a fine abrasive, just to get a little bit of surface texture. Pretty smooth, but still a little texture to it. And you should have something that will, in fact, work, reveal the original gold, so you can tell what the particle size is. We can kind of go from there. Alternatively, you could maybe show some pictures of this, and I already gave you the dimensions, and see if you can't have somebody whip you one out. You've probably got some metal fabricators down there that can just take a piece of sheet metal, beat the crap out of it, come up with something darn close to this. You could also maybe have somebody make it out of pottery. Don't use glazing. You could even carve one out of wood and then like varnish it or paint it. Don't use an oil finish, because that'll gonna cause you some other problems. But an actual duplicate of a pan. You don't need these little riffles in it. Those are unnecessary. Just a smooth-sided pan. Now, why the hell is it so damned important to know what the particle size is?